So today for the Ghetto Disco Show on Only Good Vibes Music, we have the one and only Leee John of Imagination. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Honestly, I'm a huge fan. I'm like, is this an illusion? What's going on?
It's the flashback, baby. It's the flashback. We're burning up and we're burning up.
So I wanted to start off and ask, let's bring it up to present day. What have you been working on recently and how can people support what you're doing?
Wow. Well, the most recent thing I've done is with Victor Simonelli and it's Feels So Good. It's a new track. I think you've done a mix if I've got so rightly. Yes. I think you've done a mix.
Maybe.
So it sounds very, very good. We're actually compiling all our a new set of mixes. We've got Chelsea Singh has done a mix. And so we're going to be doing a big launch of that. And I'm hoping to try and do some kind of video within this crisis, because I'm doing a video, I've recorded so much stuff and so many different projects, and they were all supposed to come 6 months of each other. And now they're all kind of like jamming all at the same time. I recorded a track with Plastic Bertrand called Don't Stop the World from Turning, which I wrote, and it's very relevant to now. So because of the timings and everything, I'm going to Paris to do a video, to do a photo shoot. I'm doing a show at the Lido on Thursday as a special guest. And there's an exhibition of Jean-Paul Belmondo, which they've asked me to be one of the patrons for, all of this week. And I come home and then, And then the other projects we have next year coming up is the Imagination Leee John box set, which is going to be about 17 albums. With some new tracks and also stuff you've never heard before, unreleased mixes, and also I think Tom Moulton, I think, did some remixes of Body Talk and Illusion. So I thought, okay, I'll give him a little bit of a breathing space and put him on there, But there's some other really wicked tracks that you think, oh my God, I've heard this before. Then in Brazil, I have a track that I did with Jorge Vecillo, who's the two-time Latin Grammy Award-winning artist. He's won 2 Grammys in this period. And I've done a track called Solitude, which is very apt. And,
Absolutely.
I know, and last year I recorded the video in Spain and he recorded his in Brazil because everybody was like, we got a chance to go out and fly out for a little period. So I did the video there and I produced it. And then he did his bit in Brazil, so I put that together. So We're just waiting to put that out in South America. Then I've also done a track with Rob Scott. Rob Scott's a soul R&B artist who has a nice retro feel. And his track's going to come out, I think, April, something like that, the same time as the Plastic Bertrand track. But Rob does very... I like his style because it's like those 7-minute tracks,
Love it.
So we've got this track, I Gotta Get Over, and it starts like it could be the Jones Girls, and it goes into Royers, and it goes into all these sort of
wow.
So it's those kind of things. So we're going to collaborate on a few more things, and then I've got 2 more other music projects I'm doing. Plus, I've been working very heavy for the last decade on a film called Flashback, the history of UK British black music, which I've been producing and directing along with my team. And we've got about 6 or 7 new artists that we want to put in there, but it's been like my baby, I could say. We started because initially it was about the 70s and 80s. Then we started with the 60s. Then we started with the 90s. Then we started to go back to the 50s.
Cover all the grounds.
So we did the whole. So we've it's just literally a timeline setting of British black music and how it's influenced the world. And it's some great stories. Some of the people I've interviewed are not even with us now. So it's a tribute to all of these wonderful people who contributed to British black music. And we're in there a little bit, but for me, it was not about imagination or me. It was about all these people who possess great talent and they get overlooked, even if they've had 1 or 2 hit records, but their music has influenced someone around the world. So I've had some great interviews. And then I've done a film about St. Lucia in 2019, a short film, because I was doing the Roots and Soul Festival. And this week, one of the prime people in St. Lucia said, look, we have to use this video, this film you've done, but there's 2 situations that you have to kind of re-edit. So I thought, okay, I think I know what they were. Because when I was in St. Lucia in 2019, there was a different prime minister and there was a different head of the tourist board, guy who's head of the tourist board. So people are saying that their politics didn't agree with what's happening. So everybody's saying, we love everything, but you've got these two people in there, they gotta go. So
they gotta go.
So it's one of those scenarios. So we're gonna put that in because it was supposed to be on all the flights and stuff like that. And then obviously Virgin stopped going to St. Lucia, which is where my parents are from, and British Airways are still going, and a few, I think, American Airlines and stuff. So it's a very important piece of work. And then the other film I've done, Police and Thieves, is a short film about the community, people in the community, people's life stories. And it's a short film, which I wanted to make it 45 minutes because I think it was going to have a powerful effect. But the 15 minutes has been quite powerful anyway. And it's basically an ex-gang member, one of my best mates, Leroy Logan, who is here in his book. I don't know if you saw the Small Axe series. Leroy is portrayed by John Boyega, who won a Golden Globe portraying my best mate Leroy. And Tyrone Huntley portrays Leee John in the film. And Tyrone Huntley, ironically, he is an associate director on the West End show, The Drifter's Girl, which is on Beverly Knight. And this guy's Tyrone Huntley. I'm great. It was wonderful him playing me because he's such a worldly talent, you know, and I've never thought I'd reach 40 years, which will be next year, for Imagination's anniversary, and someone playing me in the film. But it was due to Leroy that it all happened because we came from, we were like brothers, and he became a policeman, and I became obviously, he used to call me superstar status. That's what he used to call me. And, you know, how our lives, you know, we're still parallel and aligned, but so vastly different. And we swap situations. It's like I become the cop and he becomes the star, you know, it happens that way. And when I'm there, it's like, you know, I'm more seriously minded and he's more like, hey, you know, you know, because of that situation. It's funny how things happen. So that's been happening. And the most important thing creatively that I did last year, ending of last year, this time, was the Gorillaz video. I'm part of this album. In actual fact, I'm like a walking publicity machine, I tell you. This is Song Machine, and on December the 8th, all around the world, you can see the Song Machine video. And film, I should say, because last year, during the lockdown, we did a bubble show where we did we performed 3 shows or 4 shows together in a bubble with all these fantastic artists on this great album. And I've got a song which I co-wrote with the Gorillaz called The Lost Chord. The Lost Chord. And Damien and his crew, Jamie and all their team, they're fantastic, creative people, really inspired me. And in the video, I had, I'm playing the part of Poseidon, who's protecting the sea. I'm a sea creature, protecting the world.
I love it.
In the world. So I was in 6 hours for my makeup and 3 hours for the costume. And it was amazing. I had people that worked on Star Wars and James Bond and Harry Potter, all attending to me. So it was a great piece. If you're on YouTube, check out The Lost Chord, the video with the Gorillaz. And there's some great music and great artists on there. And it's a thumbs up to that project. I mean, it's brought me a whole new fan base as well. It's been interesting and opened my eyes to other things, you know, because even though I've got the Victor Simonelli track, that's just one genre of stuff that I'm acquainted with. And I can do house music, I can do the garage thing. I was part of that in the 80s. I grew up with all of that. You remember, you know, I've worked with Arthur Baker and was out in Shakedown in New York and stuff like that. And David Morales is one of my great mates. He's living in Italy now. And he had his breakthrough with our track, Instinctual. And then on the other flip side of it, you know, I had the Mighty Power of Love, which my other good friend now, Lem Springsteen of Mood to Swing, he did the mix of Mighty Power of Love, which became an anthem in itself. And then on another swing, I had Mind, Body and Soul with DJ Fantasy, did a UK garage mix, which became really heavy. That, you know, even kids you know, like, you know, the whole DJ Spoonie and that said, man, that was the tough record, you know, Mind, Body and Soul. So all of a sudden, I have this, all through the decades, I've had this DJ thing following me all the way through, which you can't get away from. So it's great, it's fantastic. And the thing is, it's always new music that is always being pushed from my side, you know, though in the background, I still have music and lights and changes and So Good Surround Flashback following me on the trail behind me, an illusion, but which is great. But there's a lot of new stuff. And to finish it off, during the lockdown, about a few years prior to the lockdown, I started a smooth jazz album with Bill Sharp from Shack Attack. And during the lockdown, we managed to finally finish it. We just got to do a photo session for the album, and because it's very laid back, completely laid back, but could easily be remixed and changed into whatever, you know. But it's like a really wicked album. So I'd done a jazz album in 2005 in France, in Rochefort, near La Rochelle, called Feel My Soul, and it got great acclaim. I had great reviews, great write-ups. In England, it didn't see the light of day. Only certain diehards remember it and discovered it. But around the world, it was very receptive. And when I do my jazz shows, I tend to have completely different audiences. So that also inspired Bill Sharp to say, you know, like, let's take the essence of that for doing this. So that's it. You got it.
My next question was going to be, do you ever get any sleep? Have you had any sleep since the 80s? Have you had a wink of sleep? Because, or are you a robot? One of the two.
I'm close to being a robot. I'm close to being a robot. I mean, it's like, you know, I try to make sure the evenings are chilled and stuff, you know, but I get up so early. And I'm finding that more creative things are coming up that I'm quite excited. Oh, you know, someone's got a song idea. Oh, let me, you know, I'll put it down already. You know, I've got in my phone some ideas already. I'm thinking, and I write very quickly. I see scenarios. It's like seeing a film. I see the scenarios, and bam, I can write it down, get the melody together, whatever. The whole concept, it just comes really quick.
Yeah.
And I'll have days or weeks with nothing, but then when I start doing it,
full steam ahead.
Then one, then two, then it's very much like that, you know. And it was like that in the old days, even when we first did the Body Talk album. You know, I'd written Body Talk on my mom's kitchen table, which I always tell everyone. And then after that, you know, I wrote In and Out of Love. And then I collaborated with Steve Jolly with Flashback, and So Good, So Right with Ashley. And then I wrote Don't Look Back, I'll Always Love You. And then Burning Up came about. You know, it was all like bam, bam, bam. And Tell Me Do You Want My Love. I remember listening to Michael Jackson and Nat Lee Cole at the same time and being inspired by all of that. So my voice had that kind of thing, and all those ad-libs. I was like Mr. Melody, which Nat Lee Cole did. I was stealing some of her licks for Tell Me Do You Want My Love, but people would never know. But now I can talk about it.
I know you can tell folk.
Yeah, you know, because even now, you know, when I have to sing it, I'm thinking, where did I get that from? You know,
where did that come from?
Because, you know, like, you're listening to things, and I remember there's certain tracks I'm singing or I sang, and I'm thinking, oh my God, you know, what was I listening to? And like, there was a track on our Closer album, and we have a track called I Know What Love Is. It wasn't a very big hit, but it was like a soul classic in R&B in America. And it's like, I'm doing all these Aretha Franklin, when her voice was very growly and stuff like that, like Jump to It album. So I was listening to all of that, jump, jump, jump to it. And she goes,
oh, we're getting a snippet. I love hearing this.
She does all this kind of thing. So she's doing a, it's gonna be a day now, you know, she's doing that. And so I was stealing all these licks and putting it into my song. And you can hear it. And I was listening to it the other day, because I don't really listen to my stuff after I've done it, move on. But I was listening back, and it was so funny. I was just listening and thinking, oh my God, I know what you were listening to. It's so funny, but it's all very natural. It's all very organic, you know. And I just, you know, as you see me as I am, I try and I get excited about the work. You know, it's about the work and doing it. You know, the tedious side of it is the business, and that takes so much time. With Flashback, my film project, the business has taken that time.
Yeah,
getting people in place to film them and stuff. That took a little time on, you know, but finding locations and camera people, that was nothing. But when it's the business side, oh my Lord, it's just. That's
it. Because you want to be creative all the time, and then the business comes in and you're like, can I just sit and be creative?
Yeah.
That's the good bit. The business bit, it's like a necessary evil. You're just like, oh God, I just want to write and
I know, and be creative. I mean, that that, the business side, and also the other side, which I do love, which is the clothes and the fashion and the look. I'm into all that. But sometimes, like now I'm traveling and I have to pack. And I have to think,
Packing, oh God.
It's Tuesday, for me, it's like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. What am I wearing? What am I doing?
What case am I going to take? The biggest one in the house?
I pack a fridge when I go away. It's like 3 bodies in my bag. Seriously, because I'm a person of just in case. I'm a
just in case. I know that all too well.
I'm a
just in case a heel breaks, a thing rips, you need a back.
Just in case. Or I'm thinking sometimes of the other person that, like we're doing a session or a video or something, I'm thinking maybe they may need that, you never know. So just in case, even with my band, because I'm doing a lot of live shows. So, I think, you know what, I bet you such and such will need this or whatever. 2 to 1, they knock on my dressing room door and say, Lee, you don't by chance. Okay. That's one of those things.
Let me check the fridge.
Exactly. When they check that thing. I mean, my bags are like, heavy. Even my hand luggage is heavy. But, it's technology, because it's weird. I carry a computer and I have an iPad. But there's things now that you don't need that I found. I forgot all this technical stuff, because as we go along, there's this attachment that attaches to this one. I'm thinking, do we need that now? As I change, I need a charger for this. It's become a nightmare. And I'm thinking, maybe I need my hard drives. Yeah, there may be something in the hard drive.
Maybe something there. It's always that there's maybe something there. The just in case scenario. But what you've just said about fashion there actually brings me a question I really wanted to ask you about your gold outfit on Top of the Pops. I love that choice.
There's been many. I wore a gold outfit last week in Dubai when I was there.
What was your experience like on Top of the Pops? That gold, it's that one that always stands out, that 1982, the gold outfit.
I think I know the one you're talking about. When that was illusion.
The whoosh.
In the face, yeah.
Love it.
Then there's a story there, because that outfit was made for our stage show, and we were touring at the time. And I think the one you're talking about had a balaclava on my head.
Yep, that's the one.
Now, that balaclava was actually a sleeve. It was actually a sleeve that came off. And what happened, I don't know what it was. We'd reached number 2 in the chart, or we were close to reading number 2. And all of a sudden, we'd reached that height of success. And that day, I wasn't well. I just was not feeling 100%. And my face just started to puff out. It just felt like really, just was not right. And I was like, so they let me stay in the infirmary or wherever it was. And I rested all day. I didn't do any rehearsals. I came out for 1 rehearsal, and then I just did not feel right. And so I was worried about and everybody was worried about how I was going to be for the performance. So I thought, okay, so that people wouldn't, they had loads of smoke. So I thought, so people couldn't see my face, I put the balaclava on. I took the sleeve off and stuck it on my head and just made it into this kind of,
oh my God.
Thing. Yeah, that's what I did for that, and I had the cloak. So all of that
I just love it.
And I used to do loads of that. We used to take fabric. I remember we had a photo session in Rome, and our luggage didn't arrive, our costumes didn't arrive. And we were the famous photographer, and he said, oh my God, I want to see the Imagination look. I need that, because we were in our normal clothes. So we saw strands of fabrics and things like that. And we just took a pair of scissors, started cutting it up, and created our own look. And that was it. Literally put the fabric around me. It was the 80s. It was post-punk. It was new wave.
Oh, I love it.
Was vibrant. Everybody was very vibrant. So a lot of times we create certain things. We think, let's just try and make a kabuki thing. Like there was this other photographer. We had these plastics, and we cut out this plastics and put all this. It was fun. It was actually fun creating a look right on the spot, and it was just mad. It was really mad, but it was wild. And you didn't see black guys doing that, because everybody was trying to follow everyone, and we were trying to be artistic in a sense, even though it was outrageous, it was sensual, it was whatever. Some people called it camp, but for us, it was just taking it to another level. And if we were in America, it would be a different self-expression.
Yeah.
Over here, they always tend to want to align you with a carry-on film. You know, they want to normalize you, you know, and all that kind. I wasn't having any of it. I was always evolving, always changing. So
that's what we want.
Yeah, they couldn't catch up with me. And, you know, and that was it. I was thinking, okay, they think it's this. All right, I'm going to move into that. My hair, my everything.
Yeah.
So we were always, you know, trying to change it to another level, having fun at the same time.
That's it. There's a problem you sometimes find as well in the industry, pigeonholing things. It's like, you know what? Not everything has to fit into a certain box. We just want to be expressive and do what we want to do.
Exactly.
That's the worst of it.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I find when I'm in Europe, I get that opportunity a lot more without any criticism or any, you know, no one says anything. Everybody just embraces it, you know, and they want to see it. They encourage it.
Yeah.
That's it. They encourage it. So you're thinking, wow, you know, and now because you can use virtual and different creative things, and people are pushing all that envelope while we were doing it in an analog age.
Absolutely.
You know, but trying to imagine if we had all of that situation, you know. So now I'm very aware of lighting and how to utilize light and how to express a look with an outfit, with a fabric, because I always look for my own fabrics for what I'm wearing, because it depends on the type of shows I'm doing. So therefore, for me, it's an important factor as to the audience I'm going to be performing for, and from a distance, what they can see.
What's going to, the visual, very visual.
Yeah, because sometimes I could be, if I'm in a very small audience doing an intimate thing, because sometimes I do acoustic shows and I do maybe some more jazz thing, and I'm wearing this outfit that is like going to bedazzle you. It's like, it takes away from that intimacy. So you have to sober it for that moment. But if you're in a big arena or something like, you know, I do, then it's great to have something that's going to go bam in your face, boom, 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 and you know, and I can dance and I can do all. So I like to have, you know, acoustic moments, you know, where I'm doing an acoustic guitar with my player, and we do something, and then there's the, you know, the big stages, or there's theaters. I love theaters. I must admit, the theaters are really interesting, very intimate in a sense, and take me back to the good old days, you know, the old days of gigging and stuff. With clubs, it's a little bit of a hassle because though I love clubs to visit, to hear what's happening, what's going on, to perform in them, I hate.
Is it not? You just prefer the more, either the intimate vibe or like the...
Yeah, I do. I mean, you know, clubs, it depends in actual fact. Some clubs are very 21st century, very up to date. They can accommodate everything. But then there's other ones where they're like Nutbush City Limits. They're like, you can take, you know, when you walk in, you take a deep breath and go, aha.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay.
We're in for a show here.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. You know, do they have towels? Do they have water?
Running water? Is it a bathroom?
No bathroom. Yeah. But you know, where I'm from that period, you know, you just roll with the punches. It's just that I know what I like. I know sometimes you have to just muck in with everything that's happening, especially sometimes, you know, someone's saying this place is the real top place. Everyone goes here, da 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 da. And then I'm thinking, why are they at this place? You know, why? And then I'll go backstage and I thought, oh my God. But when you go out front, you can understand it. You can see the energy and you see it. And I've been to places like that. I thought, now I know, you know. I mean, I did like, when was it? Oh my God, about 5-6 years ago. I did the Horse Meat Disco in
those guys.
And it was fun. I was doing it for something. What was I doing it? I was doing it for something. I can't remember. And they'd asked me anyway. And there's a lot of artists that were down there that night. But upstairs, I was like in someone's living room or something, you know, and I was like, you know, it's just very strange. It was like, oh, wait, is there a place to put up my clothes? And it was kind of weird. And it's like downstairs was like, oh, is it a pub? Is it a club? Is it, you know, what is it? But then the atmosphere was tremendous. It was really, and to me, it's all about the audience. Everything I've ever done is for the audience, not showing off, but performing, just getting the vibe.
Absolutely.
And during this period of pandemic, it's an escape. We are vessels that people escape through. I believe that. And our contribution through DJing, through being an artist, is to bring people, draw them in, draw them in, let them escape with us for that one moment,
Absolutely.
I think that's important.
That's nail on the head moment right there. That's exactly what we're trying to do, especially, the past, God, it's been nearly 2 years. It's now more than ever, the arts, you realize what art does for people, especially when everything was taken away. You realize what the industry does and what artists do and what they give out to the world.
God, yeah. It's important, and I now know what I represent and what I have to represent. I went to the small place last week, and it was one of those kind of places where you walk in, same thing, but the audience was amazing. And it was an audience I have not seen in a long, long time. They all looked like they came from EastEnders, but they were great, because I just played Dubai and it was fantastic, and it was blah, blah, blah. It was great, and it was like very zhuzh and a bit of everything.
I love that word, zhuzh. I love that word.
Very zhuzh.
Zhuzh is such a fun word.
Very zhuzh. And then you come down and to where I was, I'm not going to say where, and it's a little bit, like being in ba-ba-da-da-da-da, and you think, okay. But what was sweet about it was everyone was normal. It's like, from there you had that, and then, you didn't have this real normal, this is what we do, and I thought, that's where I came from. And I can say, okay, all right, I said, it's great to communicate with people like that as well. It keeps you balanced. It keeps you very, very balanced. It does. So you don't go off. Because some people, especially artists, they're only in this little globe or this little kind of bubble. And they're not aware of anything outside.
The bubble.
Yeah, it's like London. People believe London's the center of the world, and it's not. There's so much out there. And I like to, when I'm traveling, I like to walk around. I like to see, especially if I'm performing, I want to know where I am, who the people are, how they speak, what they're into, what the kids is into as well. Not saying that I can accommodate it, but I can give
a feel for it. And
yeah. It's like Scotland. I'm hoping next year we can come up. We've been offered to do some shows in Scotland.
Oh, please do. We want you here.
Come on up. I've had great times in Scotland. The last time I think we went and did, oh my God, it's a long time. I think it may have been, I did a festival there, I think, but prior to that, I came up with Sister Sledge in 2000. So that's a long time. Yeah, that's a long, long time. So,
and you back.
And we
want you back.
Yes, I got to be there. We're looking, in actual fact, I was speaking to my manager Archie yesterday, and that's one of the things we're discussing coming to Scotland, because there's been some interest. So I want to do as many shows as I can next year. For me, it's out of London. I like to perform out of London because I find that there's so much devotion. In London, you get it all there, it's all that kind of stuff. They give you the doormat. But when you go out of London, they really give you that red carpet. They really do.
Yeah.
They really do. And they're about the music. I remember, was it Hamish Stewart I interviewed for Flashback, and, his love of music, and it's going back to those days when, like you study the sleeve, the album sleeve. You see who wrote this, who played on that,
what's the notes.
Those were so important, really, really important. And sometimes not sometimes, quite a lot, I meet a lot of the fans who also know this, and they'll say, oh, you wrote with this one, or you did this with that person, something like that, So I like that.
It's that level of dedication, the fandom, and, I'm of the way, like, my dad brought me up. I love my records. I love buying records, and it's going to the notes, seeing who the mastering engineer was, who played all the different instruments. What are in the notes. What's like the smaller details. So I totally feel that. Yeah,
I don't see. I've worked with some people and they have no idea of that sort of thing. It's like the backing vocalist who sang on Stevie Wonder Next minute, she's got her own album. That was Denise Williams. She sang Free. And I saw her as a kid at the Rainbow Theatre backing Stevie Wonder. That's just one of many sort of people, you know. Ray Parker Jr., you know him from Ghostbusters, but he was with radio. He played with Marvin Gaye on his albums. He played on tons and tons and tons and tons of people's albums. And I see Ray Parker. And then he does big with Ghostbusters. And people think, oh, that's it, you know. But Jack and Jill, his band, were slamming.
So much more. That's the thing. It's the level of
Yes.
detail. And I think, you know, as we've moved into a more digital age, a lot of this stuff gets lost, unfortunately.
Yes. And that's why we're here to bring it back.
We need to bring it back.
We're here to bring it back. Well, let people be aware of it, you know, and stuff like that. That, you know, it's not one dimensional. It's like, you know, some like the older generation or people in imagination, they just thought, oh, Lee is just what they saw on Top of the Pops. But then now I'm finding with some of the youngsters who go online and they check Leee John, and I've had like a very eclectic career. And so therefore they're seeing things that they can identify with, because I've tapped into a bit of that, tapped into a bit of the situation, especially like with the Gorillas. It's like, you know, I'm playing with Little Sims. Wasn't she in Top Guy or something? You know, I'm thinking, oh, and, you know, who's the other guys? Oh my God, my brain. But there was so many people on the stage, and it's like, how did they get all these people together? It's like, wow, you know.
My next question for you, Lee, was going to be, what would you say are some of your best memories and achievements of your career? What are really like standout points for you?
Ooh.
I know this must be hard because I don't think you sleep, and I don't think you've ever been to sleep. And I'm convinced you're a robot, so this is going to be a hard question.
Well, you know, through music and through the success that I've had, I've managed to be able to, it's taken me into a different world. Like, for example, doing my jazz album was a highlight for me because I thought I was jumping into the ocean. And a very close friend of mine, Stefan Parolo, he said, Lee, you have to film this. You've got to document this. This is what's going to be happening. The making of, this is the new thing, you know, and this was 2005. I thought, what, me in the morning being filmed? Are you kidding me? In the studio, looking like that? He said, yes, important. And that to me was a breakthrough point, because I'd just done Reborn in the USA, where everybody over here had seen me. With Tony Hadley and Elkie Brooks, who I love dearly. She's a fabulous singer. And I love Tony, he's great. And there was a whole other set of other people on it. But I just done all that. And I thought, I didn't want to, there were companies that wanted us to do like a Sammy Davis, Gene Martin, and Frank Sinatra type album. And because I started doing a jazz album, and Tony was going to be doing something like that. So they were trying to do that. Though I love that music and stuff, I just felt I wanted to show jazz in a very, yet again, eclectic way. So I had a bit of hip hop, I had a bit of old jazz fusion. I had a bit of, that's what I wanted to show, and I wanted it acoustically done, so that I was recording it, bam, you heard me, but I was close with the musicians and stuff. And it was a groundbreaking for me personally in that level. And then some other things through the music, through, you know, I became a patron for SOS Children, and I've done some documentaries. One is in Zambia. The first one was in South Africa, and I became great friends with the Mandelas, and I was part of Operation Hunger, and that was in the 90s. And so the music has given me those highlights. I've, of course, had the glamour things like meeting Princess Diana and Princess Caroline. You know, they're highlights, you know, playing the Royal Albert Hall. We think, wow, as well as being on Top of the Pops, where that was family viewing every Thursday, and all of a sudden, there you are, you know, from kids to that. So these are highlights, but I feel stretching it further through the being blessed and through doing the music, it's given me these mountains that I've climbed into other areas, which otherwise I probably never have ever, you know, sort out or be a part of.
Wow, it's been some career as well, honestly. You know, I've got so many favourite tracks: Burning Up, Body Talk, Music and Lights, and The Heat of the Night, and of course, Just an Illusion. You know, out of the different records, what would be a standout record for you that you've worked on, and what was the process like? And this must be so hard. You've done so much.
I mean, people normally say, what's your favorite ones? And emotionally, my favorite one at the time, I kept saying, was In and Out of Love, the second single, because Body Talk was very smooth, and I always wanted to put a touch of jazz, like, you know, you hear that at the end. There was a touch of jazz I was all trying to throw in there. And with In and Out of Love, it was sophisticated, and it was the way I wanted to sound, you know, with the high notes and the long notes and, you know, la, yeah, all that, you know. So it was really, that was a moment. But then on stage, I like performing In the Heat of the Night. In the Heat of the Night, that's one of those, because we really take it to town, and we push it, and it has a lot more meaning now, I think, than actually when we recorded it. When
I love that record.
Yeah, and I recorded that track, In the Heat of the Night and Illusion were done on the same day, because we were always being pressured to, you know, the record companies were always very tight with studio time, and they were pressuring us, and I had to do In the Heat of the Night. And Illusion was a very hard track for me to get into initially, though I was a writer on it. Just recording it, because how I was feeling it wasn't the way my producers, because we worked very strongly. I was never dictated to. I was very involved in the vocal arrangements, and also how I recorded my voice. And then without bringing Ashley, and I'd sing a guideline or something, he'd come in with it, and he'd do, you know, his bits like that. Or I do all the background vocals on certain tracks, or sometimes he'd come in and put a layer, you know, things like that. But I was always involved in the creative process. It wasn't like someone could write an Imagination track for us. They couldn't. It was just not. That was no way, because there was specific sounds, there was specific phonetics, which you can hear in other people that Swen and Johnny worked with afterwards. For example, if you hear the ha 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 ha, that's the Leee John. That's not a ballet. That's
the Leee John.
That's my lick. That's my lick. And Steve took that lick and gave it to Spandau. It's one of those scenarios where, you know, they wanted they came to Swen and Johnny to get the sound, basically. So it's like, you know, me trying to do an Aretha lick, you know, because I know where that lick came from, you know, Ashton Simpson, I love. But when I heard that, I thought, oh, that's my lick. Because I know
that you've said that, I cannot unhear. I'm like,
well,
aha moment.
Yeah, it's breathy, and the same thing that they did with Bananarama, because what it was, I'm singing with slight with the tone and adding breath to it. You know, people like Luther Vandross have used that as you know, if you see him doing live things, he has his background singers doing that kind of thing, and it's a specialized kind of thing which you don't have. I would say the white artists, they don't do that kind of thing. They'll sing full out, or they'll just
boom,
boom. But we give that subtlety and then bring it in a little bit of, you know, that kind of thing. So it's just down, like I said, it's down to vocal style, phonetics, and a texture. You know, like certain textures and stuff like that, and building. So I was very into that, because I had many teachers prior to Imagination. I mean, my first recording, not first recording, but actually my first recording was with Del Newman when I was a kid. I was signed to a label when I was 15. So I learned a lot then, you know. I thought I was a star then, but didn't have any idea, you know. But I was around some great musicians. And then later on, the track that got me the deal for Imagination was with Trevor Horn, a track with Trevor Horn. Who's, you know, the master producer. And at that time, I met him in its very early stages. And we did a track called Got to Be Good, which was epic, completely epic. He's probably even forgotten about what we did, you know.
Oh, I'm sure he hasn't. No way.
I think he has. I mean, he's moved on.
No way. No way.
You know, so it's interesting. You'd be surprised. Some people don't always remember some of their origins, and because they've done so much, you know, they move on. But for me, I was a kid, and I was working with him and oh God, what's his name? Jeff Downs, I think. They were in Yes. Was it Yes they were with? And they did Buggles together and everything like that. And I was around in that period when that was all being, you know, so I was observing and taking all that in. and how they were recording and stuff like that. We were doing live hand claps and things like that, and stacks of vocals, and I loved harmonies. So even up to this day, I'll do 124 choirs, you know, and it's just me.
Oh, I love it.
You know, so it's but you know, it's taking what's happening today, some of the things happening today, and blending it with what I do, you know, and that's how I'm working with different teams of people now. Like I say, okay, like with the Gorillas, you know, it was like they wanted a part of the sound, you know, my sound in a sense. I can sense in how we're creating it, but making sure that the concept was interesting. And so when you're listening to it, you're thinking, you know, there was always, even with our own imagination songs, there was always 2 or 3 different meanings, you know. So you're thinking to yourself, oh, does he mean this? Does he mean that? You know, and that was what it meant to be. It was always, it takes you here, and all of a sudden we're going to go here, you know. And we talk, you know, quite deeply about the lyrics and how it's going to be performed. Because for me, I always saw how we were going to do it on stage live. That was one of the things, you know. I had that film in my mind. Very
visual person, from what you're saying, like imagining things. There we go. You know.
Yeah, always. That was the thing. You know, like how can this be performed? You know, I remember when we did, what was the track we did? Instinctual, and that was with Arthur Baker, and I was having a hard time because we were in New York recording it, and I didn't really like the song itself. I was not a big supporter of it, and but I thought I'm gonna, you know, and I remember my manager and my bass player were having this international argument with Arthur Baker. There was and my manager said, "Come on, love, just get in the studio. It's your studio time. You know, don't worry what's going on with that. As long as you finish the thing, then we're getting the quota." Basically, he was saying, "Don't waste the time because it's your money that you're going to be wasting." And I'm, you know, I'm like a vaudevillian. I'm like, okay, let's get in there. The show must go on.
The show must go on.
Even if they're arguing or whatever, I have to deliver it, because they were saying it's going to be on your shoulders. It's going to be down to you at the end of the day. Da 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 da. I thought, okay. So I was stuck in there, and because we've been in Los Angeles and we had a really great time with some great producers, and we went to New York, and it was a completely different scene. And I could get it. I got into it. It was a lot more rawer and stuff, but I got into it. And but my bass player at the time was like, you know, I'm not feeling it. And I understood. And then the ironic thing was, we went to Philadelphia to work with Nick Martinelli, who's a great producer who worked on Loose Ends and Stephanie Mills and loads of different artists, Patti LaBelle. And we got on House on Fire. And then Arthur came down to Philadelphia for me to re-sing this same track, exactly how I'd have done it in New York, only because while I was doing all the background vocals and stacking it all up, he wasn't there. he wasn't there. So all I did was do the same exact thing, and I was fighting
all over again.
Over again. I didn't want to do it. I remember it. Oh. And then the ironic thing was, out of all of the tracks of the album, the remix by David Morales became the #1 record.
So after all that.
After all of that.
After all that.
Yeah, after all of that, it became a classic record, Instinctual. So, you know, you just never know. You just never
That's
know.
it. You just.
But it has a lot to do with the time, the period, the place, and you know, Dave had this idea, you know, with the dum 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 dum. And that was something. And then the thing is, when I heard it here in the UK, I wasn't sure. I thought, this is out of tune. There's something not right here. But when we landed in New York to do, what did we went? We went to do promotion, and the guy Ben, Hecht, what's his name? Joe Hecht. He was the A&R guy, promotion guy, and he said, "You've got to come down to the village. I've got something important for you to see. There's a big event happening. So you've got to come down." As soon as he said, "Don't go to the hotel, just come straight down there." So we just came straight off the plane, straight to the village. There's a huge party coming. And all of a sudden, we heard these huge speakers playing, dum, 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 and everybody going, it was like, you know, Scene Out of Fame, where everybody's just jumping around. And it's like, you know, and one of my members of the group was saying, look, listen, Leee, who actually supported us, Peter Royer, he was supporting the track. He was saying, Leee, this is a killer. This is going to go all the way. Look at it. Look at the atmosphere. So it's different to the UK. You've got to check out what's happening. So all of a sudden, I had a different sensibility of what could work, you know, and everyone was just going crazy and saying, that's my tune, and stuff like that. So it was an experience.
What a moment. That must have been surreal, just arriving, and then you just hear that bass line and be like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Yeah, I'm hearing, you know, because at the beginning I'm saying, give me the music, which has been sampled all the time. I'm still not getting any money for it, but still, you know, I was saying, give me the music, give me the music. And then I'm hearing, oh, that's me.
Give me the money.
Yeah, exactly,
give me the money.
You know, it's great. But, you know, it was also that period of time of house music, you know, Frankie Knuckles and Tony Humphries and oh God, up in Manchester, T-Coy were doing their thing. And so it was a different period. Now, it's like painting by numbers sometimes.
You know, I was going to ask as well, who would you say are some of your biggest influences? Like, who's really inspired you?
Oh, wow. Most of them are all gone.
Yeah, I find that as well.
Yeah, seriously, I mean, I was mentioning Luther, and there was a moment when I went to see Luther Vandross at the Dominion Theatre, and we went to reception, and there we were backstage, and Cindy Mazel, one of the backing singers, introduced me to Luther, and he started to sing Just an Illusion to me. And I thought, wow.
Is this real?
This is like, you know, so he was a god. And then there's another time we were in Los Angeles doing Soul Train, and Don Cornelius says, words to the effect, Marvin Gaye has said to me that these guys are blowing out big in Europe. That's Marvin Gaye saying it to Don Cornelius, this impresario, the presenter of Soul Train, producer of Soul Train, director of Soul Train. Yeah,
another icon.
Then I ended up going to the dressing room and saying hi to Marvin, and asking him a question about a song, why he didn't release it, and singing the song to him, you know, so singing to Marvin Gaye. So, so I've had many magic moments, you know, and they're still continuing, you know.
Many more to come as well.
Many more, I'm praying, you know, it's been, I've been very lucky and very blessed, and it's having a good team of people around you. It's not easy. Because to maintain in the industry, and you're not going to get on with every single person.
That's it. That's so true.
And that's the truth of it. You know, you're not. Some people you relate to, some people you won't relate to.
Yeah.
You know? You just have to look at that moment was that moment and just move on. You know, and
words.
Yeah, and I was in a group, and that was then. You know, for me, that was great. I couldn't go back in and do the same thing again because we grow as people. And though people want to hear it, I think, you know what, I can sing the songs. So people say, oh, we're going to get back together. Maybe join each other on stage, possibly, you know, who knows? Something like that could possibly happen. But as getting back as a physical unit, I'm not of that mind, because I'm always thinking ahead, you know. I'd like maybe a moment, you know, a possible moment, you know, that, you know, as I said, on a big stage and a big event or something like that, you know, who knows? But I've just got, my train's left the station, and you know, like my car's been driving down that highway. So yeah, I've got so much stuff I'm thinking I've got to do for 20 whatever, you know. And with COVID, you know, it's trying to restrain you, and I'm thinking, I'm not gonna have this happen.
You're on the accelerator, I'm still going.
Yeah, exactly, you know, and I think it's important, and I, as I said earlier, I think our job as being part of the music industry is to also innovate, and also, you know, you've got ideas, and you know, put them out there. You've got platforms that you can reach out to different people now. It's a different accessibility. So, you know, I see a lot of people are they get frustrated and stuff, and I just say, no, you got an idea, throw it out there, see what will happen.
Yeah.
I said the secrets to success, secrets into learning music and everything's in the past. If you listen to the music of the past, it can bring you forward.
That is solid advice, and I totally agree with you. So I tend to gravitate more towards the past, like a lot of the stuff that I personally like. You know, a lot of modern music, a lot of stuff that's in the charts now. I'm so out of touch. But if you ask me about soul music and, you know, stuff from back in the day, that's where my interests lie.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, I've had to, because of the flashback film, I've had to learn about some of the new artists and try and understand what they're doing. You know, some of it I like, something I don't like, something I know where it comes from. But I find that in today's music, a lot of people follow the same things. You know, and I didn't find that so much in our day. It was
more innovative, I think. You know, back in the day, I would say.
Yeah, we're more innovative in a sense. Now they follow this peer pressure and stuff like that. There's a lot of that. And there's a few people that stuck out, you know. Young guy who's been around for a while, Joel Culpepper, and I just love his attitude. He's very soulful, and he just goes for it. But he has that different thing about him. And there's another guy, Ruben Richards. There's a friend of mine called Ruben Richards, but there's another guy called Ruben Richards who plays keyboards, and he's very, very good. He's like, you know, I see him on Instagram. I thought, that's someone to watch out for, Ruben Richards. He's very, very, very good. And he's playing, you know, and he's like, I'm thinking, wow, you know, this guy is good. He's got a natural gift. He's still learning some stuff, you know, but he's really
got something.
Yes.
That's it.
And it's melodic.
Yeah. That's important. We need a bit of the melody.
Melody, yeah. Sometimes I'm thinking,
what's going on here?
Yeah, but you know, people have to experiment, you know, and stuff like that. I believe in experimentation and stretching yourself, you know, because I'm always trying to listen to what's the next thing that, you know, people are getting into. But I am finding there's a lot of return to the past.
Absolutely. I think, as you said, a lot of people are looking to the past to try and bring the future, you know? Yeah,
I think especially in the lockdown period, there's a lot of people that were listening to the 80s and 90s and 70s even, and taking ideas in every capacity. I've been listening and hearing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my final question for you now, this is a tough question. If you can't answer it, no worries, because I would struggle with this as well.
Okay.
So if you were to go to a desert island and you could only take 3 records with you, what would they be?
Oh.
It's a horrible question. It's an absolutely horrible question. And if I got asked it, I'd be like, I don't know where to start, but, you know, I thought
With the 3 records, would they be albums or singles?
You pick.
Okay.
So now we're talking.
They have to be albums. albums. One of my all-time favorite albums, I must say, was "Songs in the Key of Life" by Stevie Wonder. Every track was it was so inspiring. And I mean, I got to see Stevie a few times in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. And the 21st century. So and I saw him as a kid. So I'm a Motown addict. I love all of Diana Ross and Supremes and Temptations, Jackson 5. I love all of that. I nurtured everything from that, and then turned into Sly and the Family Stone and Funkadelic. It's like from being sophisticated to being raw and raunchy. So that's one album, and there's another album. I mean, gosh, something that of everlasting would be an album that I love, and I love this lady a lot, and would be I think it's the Unforgettable album by Natalie Cole. I love Natalie Cole because she was one of the first artists I saw doing pop, soul, funk, rock, jazz.
The whole spectrum.
She did a whole spectrum of stuff, and it was not noticed as much here as opposed to in the States. She did loads of stuff, and gospel. She could sing up there with Whitney, do their duets together. She was like heavy, really, really. I got to meet her in God, 1975 and 1977. I was in school still, and you know, and she was something special about her. She had that pop ability as well as the jazz ability. So when she finally decided to do her father's songbook, a collection, I love those strings, I love those horns, and I love interpretation. So there was that album that she did, and there's another one she did, but that I'll take, because I think I need something from the 30s, 40s with some of the music that she's singing, that you know, and I even listen to that now, that album. And then third album, oh my God.
I'll put you on the spot here.
I know, the third album, oh my Christ. I was going to say the song compilation. That's really, really hard.
I know, I'm awful, I'm sorry.
I know, it's really, really, really hard. There was, oh my gosh. Blimey, it's like, I tell you the one album, I mean, I talked about Marvin Gaye earlier, and after my show, there's a few different people I listen to, like Ashton Simpson, they have an album called Stage Free, and I love that. Nobody Knows the Inside. But one classic album which I love of Marvin Gaye is I Want You. The whole album. Over and over and over and over and over.
On
I love
repeat.
What's Going On. I've got What's Going On my message, my call tone on here. But I Want You, I can listen to like it's drinking soothing tea. It's like, yeah, that's it. That's Marvin Gaye's I Want You.
Well, I tell you, that's some fantastic selections. And speaking to you today, I'm like, wow, this has been fantastic. So thank you so much, Leee John. Honestly, really appreciate you taking the time out of your hectic schedule. I don't know how you've even found time to speak to me. So thank you.
Well, it was funny. I was rushing up the stairs. What time is it? Oh my God! You know, I'm doing Archie, and I thought, oh goodness, you know. Thought,
You'll need to plug in again and recharge.
Where's the
USB?
I got to, you know. But it's good. It's good. It's good. Well, I hope you have a very nice Christmas, a merry, merry, merry ho 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 Christmas, and
it's snowing outside now. It was raining earlier. I think it's both now. We've got some snow and rain. Welcome to Scotland.
Well, it's raining here, and they said it's going to be coming down here. So I'm glad I did.
Probably on its way down from here. Like,
and I got to go on the train tomorrow, so it's like crazy. So it's going to be, I could imagine it's going to be like Murder on the Orient Express.
And you got to pack for the just in case scenario.
That's it, you know. And actually, before you rang, I saw a just in case outfit, and I thought maybe I should
just in case.
Because of the weather. Because I'm thinking maybe, you know, you know,
thick coat, hood,
exactly,
hood,
definitely, everything. I wear, but I'm a polo neck person for the winter. That's it.
Me too.
Polo neck. Me too. If I'm leaving this house, it's polo neck, you know. And that is it. I have loads of them. And when I go out, I buy even more.
I love them as well. I've actually got one on as we're speaking. Good. We've got good taste. What can we say?
Exactly. Well, I hope to see you very soon in Scotland.
Absolutely.
I've got to get us up there. And if not, if you're coming down to London, please let us know.
I'll hit you up.
And please keep plugging. Feel so good.
Oh, I will.